So can Bitcoin break through 100,000 or is it being stalled and held back? Well, I want to share a little bit about that, take a look at the prices of the crypto market, and also some really bullish stories as well. A little bit about what's going on with Michael Saylor, the App Store in the US, what's going on with the supply distribution, what the heck that even means. Also, there's a Bitcoin company that just rang the opening bell at the Nasdaq. We have Kevin O'Leary saying basically Bitcoin is where you want to be right now. And then we have Michael Saylor saying they still have over $57 billion left to raise to buy more Bitcoin. And then some news from Goldman Sachs. But first right here, so this is the S&P 500. And you can basically see that Bitcoin has been rallying at more or less the same rate as the S&P. So the S&P is up from the bottom around 17%. And then you can see around the same time, Bitcoin is up 26%. So Bitcoin fell harder and is up more than the S&P. But if you scale back, we're just seeing a lot of mirroring in both of these. So will it take the S&P to hit new all-time highs, which would be way up here? So that would be, going up around another 7-8% or so for Bitcoin to hit a new all-time high? Possibly, but I'll get to that in just a moment. First, really quick, let's take a look at the prices. Bitcoin has been hovering just around that $96,000 to $97,000 mark. We hit a high a few hours ago of almost $98,000, and it's just a matter of time, guys, before we see Bitcoin finally break out. So first, really quick, this is from Michael Saylor, his company, his Bitcoin principles. It's pretty crazy, right? Hold Bitcoin indefinitely and outperform Bitcoin. Now, this kind of concerns me because of what happened with Celsius, but I have a lot of PTSD around that, which I know a lot of you guys do as well. Outperforming Bitcoin, earning yield on Bitcoin, right? Positive Bitcoin yield. I'm like, okay, I guess I got to go to therapy to get over that. But nonetheless, that's what's going on with MicroStrategy. And here, Apple. So the App Store in the US is basically allowing NFTs and crypto payments to be more accessible and for those to happen in the App Store. Before, there were just more restrictions on that, and now they are loosening that. So that could be very, very bullish for crypto. Here is the supply distribution heat map. Checkmate on Twitter says Bitcoin is working its way through a very dense supply cluster between $93,000 and $100,000. Pretty much blue skies above 100K. So if we get above 100K, it's looking very, very good. So we'll see if we get that. And this is Will Reeves, the CEO of Fold. And Fold, I've made videos on. They are a Bitcoin debit card. Very, very cool product. He rang the opening bell at the Nasdaq. And I want to play just a clip of what he said.
It's really a great honor to represent Fold, and the irony that a bunch of Bitcoiners are opening the markets is not lost on me.
So that is pretty cool, right? Bitcoiners are opening the markets. This would have been unheard of not too long ago. It's just pretty crazy how quick things are happening. Right here, Kevin O'Leary. Let's take a look.
Billions that are waiting to come into crypto. It's not going to be ETH. It's going to be Bitcoin itself. And, frankly, there's a lot of people that say, I don't need anything else. If I want exposure to crypto volatility, I'll just buy Bitcoin.
So Kevin O'Leary, similar to Mark Cuban and other people like that in the financial world that have a big audience, they kind of change their mind and say different things at different times. So right now, the narrative coming from big capital, right, is that Bitcoin is the thing to buy. Now, will that change and will it go back to, we got to invest into layer 2s and Ethereum and Solana and all that kind of stuff, right? I mean, not too long ago, it was like Luna. We all know what happened there. Let me know what you think in the comments, but I think it's interesting and a little bit suspicious when a lot of the big talking heads in the financial markets are all saying the same thing. Bitcoin is where it's at right now. And I think they are just essentially mirroring what's happening in the markets. So right here, we can see that total 3 minus stablecoins divided by Bitcoin, essentially the altcoin market hasn't been doing well. And others' dominance right here, let me just get rid of this chart on the bottom. Others' dominance has been just performing abysmally. This is everything other than the top 10. So they are kind of mirroring what's already happening. And in order to be successful, you have to be ahead of the masses, ahead of the majority, ahead of what the news is telling you, right? So that is where I'm a little bit weary. Now, will we see another massive altcoin bull run? I personally still think we will. And the fact that the talking heads are saying that Bitcoin only, that to me is almost like a sign you want to do the opposite of what they're saying. Now, I'm not going to tell you to ape into altcoins. You can do that if you want. I don't really care. But I still think that we will see a massive, massive rally for altcoins. And that'll probably happen again when the Fed pivots, when the Fed reduces rates, when quantitative tightening stops, when QE begins, and we just don't know exactly when that'll happen, but I do think it will happen. And back to MicroStrategy really quick. So let me play this for you guys.
That leaves us with around $57 billion of additional capital to be raised through the end of 2027.
All right, so that's a lot of money, $57 billion to be raised by the end of 2027 to buy Bitcoin. And right here, this is Goldman Sachs saying it is ramping up its efforts in Bitcoin and crypto. Let's take a look.
We're also, kind of focused on lending as well. That's something hopefully subject to a variety of different approvals we're looking to build out.
So I don't want to play the whole thing, but, a lot of these big, massive, massive banks are getting into crypto and Bitcoin lending, which I think done properly will be amazing. I think we got a little bit traumatized or a lot traumatized with what happened with mostly Celsius when they were doing lending, but it was built upon a house of cards and it ultimately collapsed. And everyone knows what happened with Celsius. But I think when big banks like Goldman Sachs, when they step into the Bitcoin lending sphere, into the industry, I think it'll be great. I think it'll be great when you don't need to sell your Bitcoin, buy, let's say, an ETF, and then take a loan against your ETF. You can actually take a loan against your Bitcoin. Now, there are companies that can do that. There are companies that already you can take loans against your Bitcoin, but they aren't enormous big Wall Street names yet. So I am excited about that. And I do think it's a good thing that Goldman Sachs is getting in the game here. So taking a look at the last week for the crypto market, I mean, we're seeing just some random meme coins up quite a bit. Fartcoin, Pengu, Virtual's up 60%. But it's been kind of not a great week for crypto. For the month, it's been an excellent month for crypto. So when it comes to Bitcoin, I still am mentally prepared for us to revisit some of these lower levels, maybe 90, maybe even $85,000. I really think that's going to happen. Then we hang out here for a while. And then when we get some massive news from the Fed, or we get some really great news about how tariffs are not going to be as destructive as people think they are, which is already kind of happening, then Bitcoin will break out well above $100,000 and hit new all-time highs, blast through $110,000, and just keep going up from there. So ultimately, what am I doing? I am DCAing like I always am, and if we see another horrible red day where the entire stock market and crypto market crashes and there's terror like there was just a few weeks ago, that is the time to buy. So it's always a good idea to have some cash on the side if you can, just to deploy when there is some black swan or some fear event that inevitably happens in the stock market and the crypto market. And if you are a trader, you can check out BTCC. They are given that 10% deposit bonus up to $10,055 per user. They offer really, really great ways to trade if you are a trader, including leverage, but I would only recommend leverage if you are a professional trader. It's not for the inexperienced, and it's not for somebody brand new, guys. So that is it for the video. Hope you guys are well. Till next time, talk with you soon, and bye for now.